Namaskaram everybody and happy Deepavali. Bo invites you to the Gita for Yuva series in which we talk about the Gita and have discussions about it. I would personally like to explore more into it and you can now also join it on this occasion. Namaskaram everybody. My name is Rishi Mustri and today we're going to continue with chapter 4, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the self-perfection yoga. Lord Krishna now speaks. The knowledge of the self, or the science of perfection, that he's been talking about in chapter 3, is gained by pursuing this path of action. And this perfect realization of the self was once practiced by only him before anything even existed, meaning only Vishnu. Then he gave it down to Vivaswan, the son, and after that he gave it down to Manu, the first man, and then Manu gave it down to the first humans and the first kings, and therefore all the ancient kings practiced this self-realization. But over time, that science had eventually faded off. And now Krishna continues to tell Arjuna that he's trying to spread that same knowledge onto him. Now Arjuna questions him. He says, Krishna, how can I believe that you, with the grace, that great seer, the first person who spread that knowledge? Because Vivasvana and Manu lived many long years ago. How do I know it's you? And Krishna goes on to tell him that, again, as I said before, there are multiple lives. He says that Krishna has encountered it all. He remembers all of it. Although Arjuna has himself been through it, he doesn't really remember it. So Arjuna says, all right, but you taught me that the knowledge of the self removes the fear of cycle of births and consequent agonies, and you are proficient in knowledge. Therefore, you are not like the ignorant, tied down by the bondages caused by actions. And why have you taken birth at all? Meaning, why did you even take birth if you are already in that high state, right? Why did he come down from Vishnu to Krishna? He says, this is indeed a very sensible question. I am the infinite, the eternal, and the imperishable. Still, out of my own free will assume a form and come to the world to establish dharma whenever there is adharma in there. Kansa was ruling Mathura, right? That's why Krishna came down. That's one example. So then, one more slokam is Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttana badaryasya tadatmanam srijanyaham. Which means, wherever there is decay of righteousness, O Bharata, and rise of unrighteousness, then I manifest myself. This is an example of Kamsa coming to earth, or Kamsa ruling. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam dharma samsthapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. For the protection of the good, for the destruction of the wicked, and for the establishment of righteous, I am born in every single age. In each era, there will be some kind of misdeeds happening, and that's when he comes down to re-establish that dharma again.
Namaste. I will now chant and recite the slokams of the 4th chapter. Om iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Chaturodhyayaha Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogaha. 24th Slokam. Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagno brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahmakarma samadhina. Brahman is the oblation, Brahman is the clarified butter, and so on, constituting the offerings. By Brahman is the oblation poured into the fire of Brahman. Brahman verily shall be reached by him who always sees Brahman in all actions. 34th Slokam. Tadvidhi pranipatena परिप्रश्नेन सेवया upadekshyanti te jnanam jnanenastadvadashinah. Know that by obedience, by discussions, and by service, the wise who have realized the truth will instruct thee in that knowledge. Thus completed the 4th chapter slokams. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogo Nama Chaturodhyayaha. Namaskaraha.
Arjuna is still very skeptical. He continues to ask Krishna, if, as you say, it is easy to gain the greatest reward, the highest knowledge, the perfection of the self, why do so many pursue the lower paths and seek material gains? It's a similar question to the last time. And Krishna basically says, generally people take the lower paths, the sacrifices, because they want immediate rewards, right? They don't want like meditate on like a high mountain top pinnacle for a very long time, like maybe like decades and then Brahma comes and grants them a boon. They just want to like get the material gain as fast as they can. Arjuna now asks that how does he know what is his duty, his karma? Like how does he know if he's a Kshatriya or Brahmin or Vaishya or Shudra? And Krishna says that nobody really knows exactly. It's a very narrow path, but he says that he will teach him what is the difference between karma, duty, and vikarma. Then he goes on to say the question of karma has 3 aspects. 1, performance of right action, which is karma. 2, abstention for all actions, akarma, and performance of forbidden actions, vikarma. Right? Then he says, so basically, like go from like what is right to basically what is not really right. Is wherever there is life, there must be its manifestation, and the expressions of life through our organism are our actions. True duty, right action, is karma. Performance of correct action is always constructive and ever productive of good results. It helps one in one's own progress on the spiritual path. Then on the other hand, the performance of akarma and vikarma is very destructive, and it basically does the opposite. Now Krishna tries to explain who is a perfect man who does all of this. He says, the man that does this is the wisest, who while doing actions is not really doing them all. He can remain as a passive spectator, an observer of the actions performed by his limbs. Thus his self, the individuality, detached from the vanity of doing things, is unactive. Those limbs are engaged in their actions. Meaning he does not know he's doing it, but he does it anyway. Meaning it's not like he's not thinking about, oh, I should do this. It's like he automatically does it himself. So then Arjuna continues to tell, please tell me more about this wise man. He goes on to say that term, I should say, the thing that is inside that man that makes him so good is the supreme knowledge, he quotes. Arjuna asks, what do I need to do to gain that supreme knowledge? He says, Krishna, a learned teacher who has intimate experience of truth is certainly necessary. Meaning somebody who has already achieved that state of level has to be teaching you that. It's one of the ways that can get you up to that high position. Because moreover, the seeker should live a pure life of self-control and devotion as prescribed by the teacher. Then he says, when one is illuminated by this experience of the divine, one will see that all beings, including itself, are the manifestation of the one supreme self. So that's basically what will bring them to that self-realization point. That is the main goal. Because how can knowledge remove one's sins? He says, if you've done so many sins in the past, how can knowledge suddenly remove that? Right? Krishna says, just as fire burns and reduces fuel to ashes, this knowledge consumes all of our actions that create vasanas, irrespective of their nature, both the sinful papa and the meritorious punya. Even freshly cut firewood is reduced to ashes by fire only, right? It only takes a longer time. So it's kind of like fire. That knowledge is kind of like fire, and it consumes up all the bad stuff that you did. And then he says, I assure you again and again that the one who realizes or releases himself from the senseless anxieties regarding the rewards of one's action, karma phalam, and one who has a perfect faith in the divine statement that acquires a perfect knowledge, or as Krishna terms it, perfect science, he will be liberated forever even while alive. Jivan Mukta is what it's called. So he says, now Arjuna, my friend, are you not convinced? Get up, shake off your ignorance, and put on the mantle of the knowledge of the self. So that's all I got to say for chapter 4. I'll see you again in chapter 5.